Oh, he looks as dumb as you. I guess kids of someone who drop out of middle school are also stupid. A classmate named Catherine, who for some reason always looked down on me, looked into Ryan's face. She was a Harvard graduate. She was good-looking but had a terrible personality. That's what Catherine said after looking at Ryan's face. I could tolerate being mocked myself, but it pained me when she insulted my son, Ryan. Despite my patience, I raised my voice. His education level doesn't matter. Just because you went to Harvard doesn't give you the right to speak to my son like that. Seeing this, Ryan said in a cold voice, "Dad, this woman, it's Mrs. Smith, right? Should we fire her?" Ryan might look like he's 10, but he's no ordinary 10-year-old. Catherine would later come to realize this. My name is John. Probably a very average 8th grader at that time. Part of the soccer team, sometimes on the bench, sometimes not. Unlike the noticeable guys, I don't have a girlfriend. Yes, just an utterly average 8th grader. I had one strength and one weakness. First, my strength was math. I wasn't good at all subjects, but for some reason, math just clicked for me. I solved problems without much struggle, even if it was an advanced problem I saw for the first time. I was the only one in my grade who could solve some tough problems, and I've been holding the top rank in math since admission. I especially loved binary numbers. It felt romantic to count in a system other than base 10. It felt like a game and was very fun. On the other hand, my weakness, or rather the person I couldn't stand, was a beautiful classmate named Catherine Smith from elementary school. For some reason, Catherine treated everyone else normally, but she was cold to me. We used to play together in early elementary school and even visited each other's houses, but around our school trip in elementary school, she suddenly became distant and would only speak ill of me. "John, don't slack off during cleaning. Come on, take out the trash." It wasn't just me who was slacking off, but Catherine would say this and toss the trash can at me. "John, don't just stand there. Put out the flame. You're so useless." Anyone could turn off the burner during our science experiments, but Catherine would always complain to me. Moreover, she'd say things like, "I can't touch that alcohol lamp now that John has touched it," as if I was something dirty. I wanted to retort, but Catherine was bold, beautiful, and one of the top-ranking girls in our class hierarchy. I could never talk back and just took her remarks. I always thought that one day I'd prove her wrong, but the only thing I had over Catherine was math. However, she was decent at math and was top of the class in overall grades. Throughout middle school, Catherine kept targeting me. And as fate would have it, we ended up going to the same high school. So my high school life started with the same strength and weakness. Then, during my sophomore year of high school, my life took a 180-degree turn. My father, who was the backbone of our family, passed away. He loved fishing in rivers. One morning while going fishing, he drove the wrong way on a mountain road and plunged off a cliff, taking his car with him. And he never came back. Our family, which had been living a modest yet peaceful life, was shattered. I can never forget my mother's face when she received the call from the local police. I'll never forget the pale face of my father when we rushed to the hospital. After my father passed away, my mother, who had always been a stay-at-home mom, decided to work as a temp, but she couldn't keep a job for long because the sudden loss of my father often made her ill. Just when I thought she'd been working for a while, she'd end up bedridden. She'd get better and start working again, but within about 3 months, she'd fall again. I thought I couldn't put her through that anymore. I decided to give up on college. I'd even drop out of high school and start working right away. I wanted to bring my mom back to being a stay-at-home mom. I made up my mind the 3rd time she fell. Catherine, who always criticized me, confronted me when I decided to quit high school. "What are you thinking? Are you out of your mind? Without a high school diploma, You won't stand a chance in society. You have just one more year of high school. Don't quit now. Only a fool would drop out. Catherine strongly disapproved of my decision, but there was no changing my mind. I handed in my resignation that week and left high school by the weekend. After quitting, I first took a part-time job at a local convenience store. I'd never worked before since my high school didn't allow part-time jobs, so every day was a new experience for me. It was tiring, but I had committed to supporting our livelihood, and there was no turning back. As I got used to the convenience store job, I began to work part-time at a British pub in the evenings. My mother, seeing the occasional burns I came home with, would cry, worried about my erratic lifestyle. Still, not everything about the job was tough. As I continued with my part-time jobs, a new chapter began in my life. There was a woman named Kate who worked as a server at the pub. Kate attended a renowned state university nearby, studying robotics. Kate and I started chatting a little more during the hours when there were fewer customers. Turns out, robotics involves a lot of math, and I found the college lectures Kate shared with me really interesting. Gradually, I became interested in robotics. Whenever I wasn't scheduled at the convenience store during weekdays, I'd go to the university with Kate and secretly attend lectures. The classes were challenging with many unfamiliar theories, but I'd borrow Kate's student ID to study in the library afterward. Sometimes I'd wonder if I'd be attending that university if it weren't for my father's accident. But I found fulfillment in my busy work days, and there was a sense of accomplishment in supporting my mom. And above all, experiencing my first love was wonderful. Kate, being 3 years older, seemed very mature. Every conversation with her was stimulating. Yet, when we'd strolled by the riverbank, her expressions were childlike and adorable. I wanted to protect Kate's smile forever. As expected, Kate went on to graduate school. Being one of the top students, it seemed many research labs wanted her. She chose a research lab led by a professor known for tackling challenging subjects. Since Kate's research often extended into the late hours, she quit her part-time job at the British pub, so we no longer ran into each other at work. But every evening, once I was done with my own job, I'd visit Kate's apartment, cherishing the few moments we could spend together. Kate's apartment looked like that of a stereotypical science student. Aside from essential furniture and household items, there were piles of specialized books everywhere. By this time, I couldn't comprehend the complexity of the books Kate was reading, but she'd occasionally simplify her research for me. "You know, John, after working a few years, you can always choose to go to college," she said. I thought I had given up on the idea of going to college, but it was Kate who showed me such an option. Turns out, not everyone entering college is a fresh high school graduate around 18 or 19. Many adults do it, too. Those who've worked after high school and then felt the urge to study more also enroll. But Kate, I didn't even graduate from high school. When I mentioned that, Kate told me about the GED system. Apparently, even for someone like me who hasn't graduated from high school, if you pass the GED test, you are considered to have a high school level education and can then apply for college. Right now, I don't have the money for college tuition, and I'm maxed out just supporting my mom and me, but a new dream was born in me, to save up money and go to college someday. My dates with Kate were mostly in her apartment or on the university campus, but they were always a lot of fun. The university's cafeteria was affordable and tasty. Plus, considering the appetites of college students, they had plenty of large portion options, which was great. Kate loved the parfaits from the cafeteria. Every time I bought her one and brought it to our table, she'd be so delighted. I'd often think that if I could earn more, I could treat her parfaits at fancy cafes instead of the cafeteria. But the joy she found in those school cafeteria parfaits made me cherish her even more. Kate would always tell me, if you want to earn more, you can't just work more hours. There's a limit to how many hours a person can work. Instead, improve your skills. If you can earn more per hour, You make more even if you work the same hours. You should focus on learning. I had a tendency to pick up more shifts whenever I saw something Kate might want, but her words made me hold back and consistently work on improving my current skills. I learned to use software I couldn't before, and even got a culinary license. Though it cost money to study, and sometimes felt like a financial setback, once I got that culinary license, the manager at the pub I worked at praised me and raised my hourly wage. As a result, I was able to buy Kate the necklace she had been eyeing for Christmas. And with my improved computer skills, I got a job as a computer class instructor through a friend's recommendation. Leaving my convenience store job that I had since dropping out of high school, teaching computer skills to folks in the community meant a significant bump in my monthly earnings. Around this time, my mom, feeling healthier, started working part-time, reducing the financial burden on our household. Little by little, I started saving money. With savings in hand, I began to think about marrying Kate. And when Kate graduated from grad school in the spring, we joyfully tied the knot. Our life together, as she started her job as a researcher after her postgraduate studies, was incredibly happy. We rented a small place, but whichever of us got home first would make dinner, and we'd eat together every evening. Even the moments just lying together, I felt so happy being aware of Kate's presence beside me. I continued to juggle my jobs as a computer instructor and a part-timer in pub's kitchen. One day, the manager approached me, saying he wanted me to run the kitchen for a newly opening pub. It seemed I was the only part-timer with a culinary license. So, my hourly wage increased a bit. "John, let's save the extra money for when you go to college someday," Kate suggested. Even though I wanted to treat her to all her favorite foods, she said that, "I'm quite content with my current life. You should definitely go to college. You love math so much." Saying that, Kate wouldn't let me use the money for our date night. I even proposed sending more money to my mom, but after hearing from Kate about college, she refused. And that's how I began saving for college. Then one day, Kate, blushing, told me something. "I'm pregnant." We were truly at the peak of our happiness. Our son, Ryan, turned out to be an astonishing prodigy, much to our surprise. Kate and I were both good at math, so we expected him to like it to some extent, but he exceeded our expectations. In no time, he could count from 1 to 100 and started solving quadratic equations even before kindergarten. He quickly became fond of binary, my favorite, and could convert decimals to binary instantly. Kate continued her work part-time, and after finishing her research at the lab and picking up Ryan from daycare, she'd chat with him about math in ways he could understand. Ryan always listened with shining eyes. By then, I had quit the pub job and had become a full-time instructor at the computer class. Ryan quickly learned to operate the computer I taught him, and he easily outgrew the programming materials for elementary school students. I wonder what kind of person he'll grow up to be. One night, while stroking the sleeping Ryan's hair, Kate said this and suddenly began to cry. "Kate, what's wrong?" It was such a cheerful topic, so what happened? Looking at her face with suspicion, Kate clung to me and began to cry. Then she revealed, I've been diagnosed with a brain tumor. I was stunned. Only 6 months left. I couldn't come to grips with Kate's confession and remained silent for a long time. I need to support Kate. I knew it, but I couldn't help picturing my father's pale face. Now, even Kate. It reminded me of the atmosphere when my mother answered the phone that day. It's terrifying. Please tell me it's a lie. Tell me you're just groggy. I couldn't accept Kate's illness, and for a while, life continued as usual. Kate went for treatments, but she never talked about her illness since then. I thought maybe we could just pretend it never happened. But one day, a call came from the lab. Kate collapsed. Lying in the hospital bed, Kate had regained consciousness but was hooked up to several lines, breathing through an oxygen mask. I wanted to look away, but the situation had escalated to a point where I couldn't. "Please, look after Ryan." By the time I finally accepted the reality of her words, Kate's condition had deteriorated to a level beyond treatment. For the month before Kate passed away, we repeatedly talked about Ryan's future. Kate apologized to me and Ryan, again and again. She had nothing to apologize for. The hardest part was for Kate, having to leave Ryan behind. "Ryan has an incredible talent," Kate kept saying. I felt the same way. "I'll do everything I can to help Ryan harness his exceptional gifts." Kate often took Ryan to the lab, where everyone adored him. She asked me to keep taking him to the lab even after she's gone. With the help of everyone in the lab, I promised to provide the best education possible. At dawn, on the day when 6-year-old Ryan held back tears and said, "Mom, Dad and I will do our best, don't worry," Kate was called to heaven at the young age of 33. Having lost a loved one twice, I couldn't afford to break down. I had to protect my son, Ryan. From that day, we started a new life, focusing on nurturing Ryan's talents. Time passed, and as Ryan's 10th birthday approached, we went to celebrate at a famous upscale restaurant known for its traditional dishes. After enjoying our meal, we were satisfied and just stepping out of the entrance when I noticed a familiar face. Catherine. It was Catherine, an old acquaintance from elementary to high school. She was there dining with her boyfriend. Upon seeing us, the corner of her mouth twisted into a smirk. "You, dining in such a fancy restaurant, even though you dropped out of middle school. Out of your league, don't you think? Middle school dropout or not, what's that got to do with anything?" I didn't want to provoke Catherine, especially with Ryan around. I tried to leave quickly, but she kept on throwing jabs. "You probably can't even educate your child properly with your dropout status, can you?" I had promised Kate to prioritize Ryan's education, so this really got under my skin. Still, I tried to ignore her and started to leave with Ryan. "Look at him. He's got that clueless look, just like a dropout's child. I guess stupidity runs in the dropout family." Catherine pushed further. Although I could handle insults thrown at me, when she insulted Ryan, I lost it and snapped back. "My educational background has nothing to do with this. Just because you went to Harvard doesn't give you the right to talk that way about my son." "Oh, come on. Is it because you didn't even finish high school?" Catherine continued to mock. Ryan suddenly said in a cold voice, "Dad, this woman, it's Miss Smith, right? Should we fire her?" "What are you talking about, Ryan?" Attempting to reprimand him, Ryan continued, "She's a business associate of my company. She might not know me, but I've seen her. She's from the security firm we've outsourced to, so at the very least, I can have her removed from the current project. Right, Miss Smith?" "Ryan, there's no need to retaliate, no matter how much one is mocked." That being said, I might have snapped back a bit earlier. I tried to silence Ryan's harsh words. "What? How can a kid like this be associated with my company? There's no way you can fire me. Talk in your dreams." Clearly shaken by being addressed by Ryan, Catherine snapped back and disappeared into the restaurant with her partner. "Ryan, you shouldn't talk about firing someone like that," I advised him, but Ryan still looked discontent. Ryan can be a bit sharp-tongued at times. Well, being acknowledged as a member in Kate's lab, researching robotics as an elementary schooler, and even doing system development, I can see why he might have become a bit assertive and outspoken. But kindness and relationships are the foundation for all. Just because he's a child doesn't excuse everything he says, especially since he's working with adults on system development. He needs to be careful with his words. Ryan developed a digital photo album app. It became a massive hit. With the profits, we set up a company to develop the next app. On paper, I was listed as the CEO, but in reality, Ryan was the one pulling most of the strings. The security aspect of that album app was outsourced, and Catherine worked for the outsourced company. When I reprimanded him for speaking rudely to an outsourcer, Ryan pouted for a while, but when I said, "Mom will cry," he calmed down and muttered, "Sorry." It was a few days after the incident at the upscale restaurant. A data breach occurred at Catherine's company. Fortunately, the information leaked wasn't directly related to Ryan's app, but we found ourselves dragged into the whole mess. "You did it, didn't you?" Holding a grudge about that incident before, Catherine accused Ryan of being the culprit. Ryan was, of course, outraged. Feeling indignant, he was determined to find the real perpetrator. Fortunately, the method of the leak wasn't too complicated. It seemed like he'd just have to decrypt some codes and trace back a few IP addresses. With the help of everyone in the lab, when they decrypted the code and tracked the address, it surprisingly led to the computer of Tom, the boyfriend who had accompanied her to that upscale restaurant that time. When Catherine confronted him, Tom readily admitted that he had someone else do it for him. I was just jealous of how capable Catherine seemed, able to do anything. Catherine had a flashback at those words. A time in the past when she felt inferior to her first love in math and acted mean out of frustration. She had intended to confess her real feelings and apologize for her past behavior when they graduated high school, but he dropped out, and she never got the chance. Even though she was the one at fault, she harbored resentment and said hurtful things when they met again. Catherine came to my house to apologize and shared this story. I was utterly shocked to see the proud Catherine, almost as if bowing her head to the ground in remorse. Her confession that she once had feelings for me was even more startling. It made me realize anew how emotions can become so tangled that they're hard to control. Ryan didn't say much, but he seemed to sense something in Catherine's sincere apology and her vow to help Tom get back on the right track. Kate. Ryan just turned 10. Today, we're visiting Kate's gravesite. Ryan's photo app is still selling really well. The new features are loved by the customers, and the add-ons are selling. He reported in front of Kate's grave. "But I did something wrong," Ryan admitted on his own. "Some people I work with spoke ill of me, and I retaliated spitefully. Even though I was the stronger one, I ended up bullying the weaker person." Had he truly realized his mistake? As a parent, I felt relieved to see Ryan reflecting on his actions. "From now on, I'll be kinder to others. Even if someone speaks ill of me, I won't retaliate. So, Mom, you can be at peace." Kate. Ryan has grown so much, both in heart and body. He's truly maturing. And I have something else I want to share. Kate, I've decided to go to college next year. I plan to study engineering and work seriously on system development, alongside Ryan and the others. "It'd be really reassuring if you join the development team," Ryan exclaimed with enthusiasm. "I used to only be involved in company management, but honestly, I've always wanted to be part of the development, not just for bug checks, but to be deeply involved. I thought going to college would be the best way to achieve that. When I grow up, I'll go to college too. I want to attend the same one Mom did. You already visit college research labs, don't you, Ryan? But you should definitely go to college, maybe even grad school." "Yeah, and in the future, I want to be a researcher like Mom. I'll leave the company to you, Dad," Ryan said with a mischievous grin. Kate. He's growing up so strong and capable. "It seems like it'll be a long time before I come to see you, but by then, I'll have plenty of stories to share. So, please wait for me there," I whispered to Kate in my heart. "John, Ryan, I will always be watching over you." It felt like I heard Kate's voice carried by the wind. "All right, Ryan, let's grab some ice cream from the campus cafeteria on our way home." "Yay!" Ryan cheered. We started walking hand in hand on our way home, the scent of spring beginning to mingle with the air. It was 15 years ago from now. Back when I was in elementary school. April came around, and we had a class shuffle. Our new class teacher was a young woman. When lunchtime came, the teacher turned to a girl who sat next to me and told her not to eat the school lunch. "Katie, you haven't paid your lunch fee, so don't eat, okay?" Katie, who always wore ragged clothes, was a skinny little girl. Apparently, her family was poor, and since last fall, her parents hadn't been paying the school lunch fee. I learned about this later on from overhearing some gossip. But it seemed she was allowed to eat lunch the previous year. Seeing her being the only one without any food on her desk and just looking down made me feel sorry for her. But since the teacher ate lunch in the same room, I couldn't secretly share my food with her. So I left just the bread, wrapped it in a napkin, hid it in my desk, and gave it to Katie after lunch was over and the teacher left the room. "You can eat this." "Really? Thank you, Jason." Back then, I was an outcast among my classmates and had no friends in the same class. But after that incident, I started talking to Katie. When I got home that day, I told my mom about Katie's family situation. "Mom, please, can you make a packed lunch for Katie?" When I pleaded like that, my mom responded, "That poor child, if she can't eat lunch, it won't be good for her growth, and she probably can't concentrate on her studies when she's hungry. It's fine. I'm already making your dad's lunch every day, so adding one more portion won't make much difference." With that, she gladly agreed. The next day at lunch break, when I handed over the homemade lunch my mom made, Katie's eyes widened in surprise. "My mom said to give this to you." "Is this a packed lunch?" "Yeah, I told her about you, and she said to give it to you." "Really? Thank you, Jason." She hurriedly ate the lunch before the teacher returned to the classroom. It turned out that Katie's house was in the same direction as mine, so from that day on, we decided to walk home together. While walking, Katie told me about her life. "My dad doesn't work, yet he spends all our money on slot machines and horse races. My mom earns the money, but my dad takes it all. Because of this, they were struggling and even in debt." Seeing her wearing the same tattered clothes every day, I felt sorry for her. Our classmates just watched her from a distance. Neither of us had friends. After that, we started meeting up in the morning and going to school together. Some of our classmates teased us, saying, "Are you two dating or something?" But we tried not to let it bother us. I've always been bad at talking to people, but for some reason, I felt at ease talking to Katie. I didn't realize it, but it seemed I was lonelier than I thought, not having any friends. I was really happy to be able to talk to her. On our way to and from school, we talked about a lot of things. About our families, our favorite foods and animals, homework, and TV shows we watched the previous night. And I found out she loves cats. She can't have one at her house, but she enjoys visiting a nearby park where stray cats often gather. "My family has a cat. Want to come over and see it?" "Really? Sure." When I brought her to my house after school that day, my mom warmly welcomed her. When our mixed breed cat showed up, Katie's eyes sparkled with delight. "How cute. What's its name?" "It's Mary." "Mary, come here." Katie looked so happy, cuddling the cat, playing with toys, and feeding it treats. Seeing her radiant smile, which she didn't show at school, somehow made me feel happy too. In a blink of an eye, it was evening, and my mom prepared dinner, even for Katie. "Katie, can you give me your home phone number? I'll call your folks and let them know you're here." With that, my mom called her house. During the call, she seemed deeply engrossed in the conversation. After that day, Katie began having dinner at our house every night. Apparently, her mom often worked late, and her dad, who was at home, didn't do any housework. As a result, their dinner time was always late. So, with her parents' permission, our mom started looking after her meals. After school, Katie and I would do our homework and play with the cat until dinner. However, about a year into this routine, Katie had to move. Her parents divorced, and she decided to move with her mom to her maternal grandparents' place in Texas. Before moving, she and her mom came over to say goodbye. "I can't thank you enough for all that you've done for Katie. We'll never forget your kindness." Saying so, her mother bowed to my mom. "Oh, please, it's okay. Please, raise your head. We help each other out during tough times. Don't give it another thought." My mom was a person of strong principles and kindness. I have tremendous respect for her. I can't recall the conversation I had with Katie that day. I haven't seen her since. We exchanged Christmas cards every year, but that also ceased after 5 to 6 years. Then, I graduated college and started working at a precision machinery manufacturer. I was assigned to sales, and it's been 3 years now. Taking over clients from seniors and establishing new ones, I now handle numerous major accounts. "Good morning, Jason." My colleague, Mike, from the next desk greeted me. "Good morning. Tomorrow we've got a meeting with AB Electronics. It's a big deal that's vital for the company. You pumped and prepared?" "Yes, I'll have it ready for review later." As we talked, a secretary called out to Mike. "Mike, there's a call for you from AB Electronics." Picking up the phone, Mike's face turned pale rapidly. "What? How could this? Yes, I see. I'm terribly sorry. Right away, please, can you give us one more chance?" "Wait, hold on." After hanging up, he just stared blankly, still holding the phone. "What happened?" Turning to me, he said, "Jason, you gave the wrong time to AB Electronics for our meeting, didn't you? They thought the meeting was yesterday. They're furious that we stood them up. This deal is toast. It's your fault." "What? But wasn't it you who communicated the schedule to them?" "What? You're trying to pin this on me." I wanted to throw his words right back at him. To begin with, I hadn't communicated the schedule to the client at all. Mike had arranged the schedule and then informed me about it later. And yet, trying to blame it on me. He reported the matter to his boss, and Supervisor Johnson went to apologize on his behalf. However, they wouldn't listen, and in the end, the deal with AB Electronics fell through. When Johnson returned, he said to me, "Jason, what have you done? Because of you, the crucial deal we staked our company's future on has been ruined. How are you going to make this right?" "But sir, it wasn't me who informed them about the schedule. It was Mike." "Enough. No excuses. You've caused harm to the company. Maybe you should consider resigning." That's something Johnson always says when he's angry. "Wait, I really don't want to quit." "Then bring in a contract worth the same amount as the machine we were going to sell to AB Electronics within 3 days, or you are fired." How could I possibly secure such a deal in just 3 days? I was at a loss for words after hearing Johnson's ultimatum. But then, I remembered something. There's a client who's currently considering purchasing the same machine we were planning to sell to AB Electronics. They always try to haggle the price down, constantly negotiating for discounts. I'd almost given up, thinking they had no intention of buying. But now, I had to somehow close the deal with them. I quickly revised the quotation and set an appointment with that client. Upon arriving at their company, a man named Kevin assisted me. "I've brought a new quotation today." I handed him the quote, and Kevin scrutinized it. "Can't you go a little lower?" "I really can't go any lower. We've adjusted the price several times already," I pleaded with Kevin, putting on a distressed look. "Please, Kevin, I'm sure our equipment will be very beneficial to your company. We'll even include regular maintenance." Kevin pondered, crossing his arms. "I get what you're saying, but at this price, my superiors might not approve. I personally want to purchase it, but how about I explain the benefits directly to your boss, maybe over a meal or something?" "That might be difficult. My boss is pretty busy. I'm begging you, Kevin. Please just give me a chance to discuss it over dinner." I pleaded desperately. The machine sells for tens of thousands of dollars. For our company, the cost of a dinner would be insignificant compared to the sale. All right, I'll ask, but my boss is out right now, so I'll get back to you another day. That's fine. Thank you so much. Kevin saw me out of the conference room. Just then, the elevator opened, and an older man entered the office. Supervisor, I wanted to see you. Do you have a moment? Seeing him, Kevin immediately approached. So, this is Kevin's superior. Kevin explained the situation to Supervisor. But to my surprise, Supervisor began to shout angrily. Trying to win us over with a dinner. We've told you countless times if we can't afford it, we can't buy it. If you can't offer a better price, then just leave, and don't come back. Did I do something so wrong to be yelled at like this? While I was still in shock, Kevin whispered to me as he nudged me towards the exit. I'm sorry, he is just in a bad mood today. He always lashes out like this when he's upset. It seems Supervisor is quite a difficult character. But without his approval, we won't be able to finalize the deal. If I don't land this contract, I'm gonna lose my job. What should I do? As I was racking my brain, I heard the sound of heels clicking down the hallway. Wait, Supervisor. I turned around to the sound of a young woman's voice, and there stood a beautiful woman in a business suit. Watson, what's up? She quickly approached the puzzled-looking Supervisor. I've reviewed the documents too, and I believe that equipment from that company would be valuable for us. Please consider purchasing it. She looked straight into Supervisor's eyes as she spoke. Well, if you say so, Watson. Kevin, move forward with the contract process right away. Supervisor then turned to me and said that. What? I was absolutely gobsmacked. For a moment, I had no idea what had just happened. So, you're saying you'll make the purchase? Yes, Jason. Can't say no when the boss's daughter asks. Now can we? Boss's daughter. This woman. As I looked at her, she smiled and said, Jason, long time no see. Don't you remember me? Even though she said that. I don't recall knowing any Watson. But as I continued to gaze into her face, it felt somewhat familiar. Wait, who are you again? She spoke up again. Do you remember me as Katie? Katie, oh, is she talking about the same Katie I used to walk to and from school with and hang out at my place during grade school? She's changed so much, I didn't recognize her. Whoa, it's been like 15 years, hasn't it? Yeah, so nostalgic. I saw your name on the business card attached to the documents and thought it might be you. Really? But boss's daughter. Actually, my mom remarried when I was in high school, and I took on the name Watson. Wow, really? Hey, Jason, instead of just standing here chatting, want to go out for a drink tonight? Sure, sounds good. Katie and I exchanged contact info and planned to meet for drinks after work. When I got back to the office and reported the good news, my supervisor was taken aback. You really got the contract? Yes, we haven't signed the papers yet, but we got the green light. Great job, Jason. Supervisor was thrilled. Looking over at my colleague, Mike, he seemed uneasy at his desk. After wrapping up work for the day and heading to the bar for our meetup, I found Katie already waiting. Thanks for today. You saved me. I didn't get fired because of you. What are you talking about? As I filled her in, she was sympathetic. It's terrible for a senior to put the blame on a junior like that, huh? Well, thanks to you, the deal went through, so I'm really grateful. Seriously, thanks. Upon hearing my gratitude, Katie shyly smiled. I'm honored I could help. To be honest, I've always been grateful to you for everything. We lost touch after I moved, but I'm glad we could reconnect like this. According to Katie's story, when she was in high school, her mother divorced and began dating a man who was then the manager of the office where she worked. They eventually got married. However, a few years later, Katie's stepfather's father, the CEO of the New York headquarters, fell ill. to take over his position. Their whole family moved to the city. You could have let me know when you moved back. Sorry, but weren't you the one who stopped replying to my New Year's cards first, Jason? Did I? Yes, so I thought maybe you found a girlfriend, and I didn't want to intrude. Turns out, I never did get a girlfriend. Really? No girlfriend? Nope, none. Well, maybe our meeting here is fate. If you're okay with it, would you like to date me? I was taken aback by her sudden confession and was rendered speechless for a moment. But it wasn't that I disliked the idea, I was actually really happy. Back in elementary school, being around her always made me happy, and whenever she laughed, I felt joy. I remembered that feeling. Of course, I'd love to. I extended my right hand to her, and she gently took it. Really, I'm so happy. This is how we started dating. 2 years later, I proposed, and we got married. Mary, dinner's ready. Meow. Seeing her play with our cat, she seemed just like the old times. Katie had faced many challenges growing up, but from now on, I wanted to be by her side and make her happy.